and in this statement, the perfect personality of Godhead Sri Krishna is clearly confirmed. The ultimate result of devotional service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality. And in this statement, love is a word which is often used in relation with man and woman. And love is the only word that can be properly used to indicate the relation between Lord Krishna and the living entities. The living entities are mentioned as Prakriti in the Bhagavad Gita, and Sanskrit Prakriti is a feminine object. The Lord is always described as the Parama Purusha, or the supreme male personality. Thus, the affection between the Lord and the living entities is something like that between the male and the female. Therefore, the term love of Godhead is quite appropriate. Loving devotional service to the Lord begins with hearing about the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and the subject matter heard about him. The Lord is absolute in all respects, and thus there is no difference between him and the subject matter heard about him. Therefore, hearing about him means immediate contact with him by the process of vibration of the transcendental sound. And the transcendental sound is so effective that it acts at once by removing all material affections mentioned above. As mentioned before, a living entity develops a sort of complexity by material association, and the illusory engagement of the material body is accepted as an actual fact. Under such false complexity, the living being under different categories of life become illusioned in different ways. Even in the most developed stage of human life, the same illusion prevails in the form of many isms and divides the loving relationship with the Lord, and therefore divides the loving relation between man and man. By hearing the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam, this false complexity of materialism is removed, and real peace in society begins, which politicians aspire for so eagerly in so many political situations. The politicians want a peaceful situation between man and nation, but at the same time, because of too much attachment for material domination, there is illusion and fearfulness. Therefore, the politicians' peace conferences cannot bring about peace in society. It can only be done by hearing the subject matter described in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. The foolish politicians may go on holding peace and summit conferences for hundreds of years, but they will fail to achieve success. Until we reach the stage of reestablishing our lost relationship with Krishna, the illusion of accepting the body as the self will prevail, and thus fearfulness will also prevail. As for the validity of Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures, and there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from personal experience of devotees in various places like Vrindavan, Navadvip, and Puri. Even in the Kaumudi dictionary, the synonyms of Krishna are given as the son of Yashoda and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman. The conclusion is that simply by hearing the Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, one can have direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and thereby one can attain the highest perfection of life by transcending worldly miseries, illusion, and fearfulness. These are practical tasks for one who has actually given a submissive hearing to the readings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ganatimirandasya Gana Shalakaya Chakshuramanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadhati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Govesha Gopia Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine. Nirvishesha Sanyavadi Pastatya Deshatarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Tinamine. Namaste, Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shtatmane, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Tinamine, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Hari Hari, Hare Krishna. Hari Bol Dear Prabhus. Let's see if I'm seeing you. Okay, yeah, here we are. So, this verse. It's really packed, as we shared about these last few verses. They are very important verses, and this one is the subjective experience of those persons that heard Srimad Bhagavatam. So this verse is being spoken by experience, and so here we can understand that Prabhupada is giving so much in this text. Just, simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feelings for devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. So in this text, Prabhupada gives this example of the feelings of loving devotional service to Lord Krishna. So these feelings are developed when one simply hears the oral reception. Simply by hearing the Vedic literature, then these feelings develop more and more. So what are these feelings? You know, we know feelings is an action. It's a verb, actually. And so when we think about feelings, we think about some activity that's going on within us that's connecting us to something. We're feeling happy, we're feeling sad, we're feeling grateful, we're feeling disappointed, we're feeling angry. These feelings are connecting us to some emotion. So when we hear feelings for devotional service, it's an emotion that's connecting us to the Lord, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to Krishna. I'm sorry I have to stop for a minute because, I mean, Kusha, it's just really amazing to see his backdrop all the time. So that backdrop just reminded me of Nigeria, of one of these high chiefs in Nigeria. So he changed it, and now we've got, I'm so sorry about this, but you know, his backdrop always like get my attention. So now I'm seeing like this moonlight, and I'm getting a chance to think about Krishna as we talk about this verse. So it's like a place where the gopis are dancing with Krishna, right? Anyway, so yeah, so exactly. So Kusha's backdrop, if we can meditate about the feelings that the gopis have when they're dancing with Krishna, okay, that's kind of a little esoteric. However, it's there's certain visuals that can give us certain feelings. And so here Prabhupada is talking about feelings that develop for Krishna. And how do we get, oh, look at this. Wow, this is Mayapur. Yes, yeah, Mayapur. Okay. So here we're getting all these different visuals to give us feelings about, the Lord's abode, the Lord's pastimes. And then Prabhupada says that when we have these feelings, when these feelings develop naturally, when they develop by constant hearing, and of course, hearing from the right source, hearing from the right persons, then we are able to develop this freedom. We will get this freedom from lamentation, so soka. So, lamentation definitely gives us suffering. And when we think of lamentation, we think of some sadness, right? Something that makes us sad. And of course, there's so many things in the world that makes us sad, isn't it? There's so many things that goes on everywhere in the world. At this point, it's global. I think everybody's aware globally of suffering at this time in our development, in our human development. We're all conscious of each other's suffering. And so this lamentation, this soka, Prabhupada says that this, by just hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, this helps to free us from this soka, this lamentation of material miseries. And he also goes on to say that it extinguishes the fire. So it we can think about that. It's like a big fire, and and the rain has come, and it's letting the fire cool down. So at least we get, according to Srila Prabhupada, we start getting this cooling down, and then finally extinguished totally of our illusion, moha. So illusion, when we think of illusion, we think of the things that we're chasing in the world, right? So we're all chasing something. We're all deluded by some false sense of happiness. All of us, everyone is looking for happiness. And happiness can only be found really with Krishna, can only be found with God, can only be found when someone turned to God. However, in the material world, especially now in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult for people to turn to God. It's becoming a little easier because of the suffering that people are experiencing. Still, though, people want to, even in the different sufferings that we're experiencing, we still think that we can get some happiness. Prabhupada called it chewing the chewed, right? We just still think somehow I can enjoy something. And then Prabhupada goes on to say about this extinguish the fire of fearfulness. So this bhaya. So of course, when we are in illusion, when we are deluded by this false sense of happiness, when we think that we can be happy in this world, in the material world, and we realize that, however, I'm just suffering. Most of the time I'm suffering. Then we start becoming fearful, right? We start thinking, oh, what does it mean? Like now we see in the world, people are becoming very, very fearful because so many things are getting taken away. And everybody wants to think that what they have, right? What they have is theirs. They're thinking this is mine. And so people are realizing in the world today that nothing really is ours because it can easily be taken away. I mean, we see just by a disease, just by a little bug can impact the entire world. Just a little bug. And this little bug can take so many things away from so many people. I don't know what's happening in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Ivory Coast, Zambia, different places where I've been. However, in America, people don't have food. People don't have, shelter. People don't have jobs. I mean, it's kind of like a difficult situation for many people here in America right now. And this is all caused just by one little thing, one little, like I said, just one small amoeba. I guess it could be called an amoeba. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. Srivas is a scientist with us, but this one little bug is causing, people to realize, to become aware of the fact that they're suffering. And so they're also becoming so fearful because they were so connected. People are so connected to the illusion. And now that these things are happening in the world and they're so visual, they're becoming fearful. People in America are actually becoming fearful. What's going to happen? And it's not just, I mean, like, I think poorer people, they've been used to this. So it's kind of like, okay, horrible. Yeah, something is, I don't have anything anyway so much. So, it's sure they're affected for sure. However, they're so used to this type of suffering that it doesn't impact them as much as it's impacting wealthy people today. So wealthy people are the ones that are becoming more fearful because they have so much more to lose, they think, right? They have so much money, so much this, so much that. And we see all these companies are falling apart. We see that, we just yesterday I saw something about there's all these abandoned buildings of corporations that these corporations had to close down because they couldn't keep, they couldn't keep up the business of making money as they would normally do because of this pandemic, because of how people are being affected. So this is very real for us. It's not something we just read in the books in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's Krishna is showing us, just in our world today, that this lamentation, this suffering that we normally wouldn't pay much attention to, now everyone is paying attention. Everyone is sad. Everyone is feeling some incoherence. Everyone is feeling some discomfort, and this is all caused by this illusion, that we all want, that most people just want to be happy. So we know that most people are driven by 4 drives, and that's eating, mating, sleeping, defending, right? So by these 4 drives, most human beings, they're driven by this. And of course, we know that eating, mating, sleeping, and defending as is experienced in different modes of material nature, right? And so goodness, passion, ignorance, even in goodness, people are still affected by these 4 animalistic drives. And so when people are driven in this, like now there's the mental health organization have given us statistics that suicide has increased by, I think, 40-something%, especially among young people. Young people, as you may know, we just had in our community in Gitanagari, a young boy commit suicide. A young boy hung himself. He was 30 years old, and that's in our community. So this is like it's like real. It's like seriously real. And he's aspiring to be a devotee. He was a bhakta. Of course, he had some kind of mental challenges. However, the fact is that this suicide is affecting everyone. It's affecting not just the materialists now. It's actually affecting our devotees. Some of our devotees, some people that are trying to be devotees. And when this happened, we were so all alarmed about this because we've never, ever heard of anything like this, especially in Gitanagari. We've never, ever had anything like this. And then I started kind of trying to understand more about this because I was lamenting, spiritually lamenting, like, how's this possible? And then I started learning that in UK, they had something like 8 or 9 suicides in the past, whatever, in the past, few months. And then just right after this happened with this young boy, I read some young woman in Vrajalila just jumped off a building and killed herself. So I'm bringing this up to say how important it is. This verse is for us today. It's not. It's practical for the experiences that this Kali Yuga is bringing on more and more, and we are experiencing this. We are living through some of this. So, how do we get back to the verse? So Prabhupada is saying here in the verse that we have these ears. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, my revered spiritual master, I didn't used to pronounce that word properly. Ear. I think I do now, because I also come from another country, and so I like a different kind of accent. And I think I would say, I don't know what I would say, but I think I do have it now. So he always, when I would say this word ear, he would always say, it's important for you to say it correctly, because those ears that you have are 2 of the most important parts of your body, because that is what you need to hear about Krishna. And so he would say that, it would say it in a very caring way to me, so I could get the pronunciation of that word when I spoke. And so when I read this last night, I just immediately thought of my revered spiritual master, and how, just something as simple as bringing this to my attention about speaking about the ear in terms of language. Here Prabhupada is saying that this is this ear is the most effective, right? Because it's the most effective. This is the most important, 2 of the most important parts of our body, right? These 2 ears. And he says that he gives us some reason, because even when we're asleep, that this is what will give us protection, right? When we're sleeping, every other senses, all the other parts of our bodies, they may not, they can only become awake through the ear, through the sound that might be going on in the environment. And so Prabhupada says, one can protect himself from the hands of an enemy while awake, but while asleep, one is protected by the ear only. And so we hear that in so many of the pastimes. I believe one of the pastimes of when with Draupadi, when her children got killed, right? It was through that sound that they kind of knew that something had happened through the air, that this atrocious activity had happened. And so then Prabhupada goes on to explain why the ear is so important, because of hearing. And so then now he's speaking in this verse about why this hearing is so important. And he talks about this, that everyone, he says that everyone is full of lamentation. And we understand that this world, in Kali Yuga, yes, everyone is lamenting about something. And he explains, however, the only way that we cannot lament, or the only way that we can put a check on our lamentation in the material sense, because there is spiritual lamentation also. And I know, like in my own case, when Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj left his body, I was lamenting very much, very, very much. And in some ways, that was definitely spiritual lamentation, because this is a very exalted spiritual personality. However, as Prabhupada says, however we're experiencing this lamentation, whether it's material lamentation or spiritual lamentation, the fact is that there's only one solution for this that can help this, right? And even though I have understanding about emotions and all these things, the only thing that really helped me to go through that lamentation, that period of lamentation, was to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books. So I went to Mayapur and I studied Bhakti Sastri with Burjan Prabhu. And it was while I read in the, I believe it's in the second part of this first canto about Queen Kunti and Queen Kunti's lamentation. When Krishna was leaving, that was what gave me solace. That was what helped me to move through that period of lamentation. So there is spiritual lamentation, and however, in any case, whether it's material or spiritual lamentation, we by taking shelter of Krishna, then we can become free from these lamentations. So this point, though, that Prabhupada makes here about devotional service, and this he goes on to talk about, the ultimate result of devotional service is to develop genuine love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, genuine love. And so I wanted to share just some points on developing this genuine love, how we can develop this genuine love by hearing. So how should we hear? So Prabhupada is giving us, this verse that's telling us that we need to have this genuine love for God, this genuine love for Krishna. And in order to develop this genuine love for Krishna, he says, just by hearing, if you hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, if you hear the Vedic scriptures, then you will develop this genuine love for Krishna. However, there are ways that we are to hear. We need to develop these different ways of hearing. And so once we understand the importance of hearing, then it's important for us to kind of look at, okay, what do I need to do in order to hear, and to hear in a way that will impact me so that I can move away from whatever material obstacles may be there in my life regarding hearing. I recently saw on your chat where Sahadev Prabhu had written something to the devotees about hearing, or maybe it was making your presence visible. Maybe that's it. For hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So I saw that he was addressing that. And I saw back and forth some of the answers that were being given. And I was thinking how it's so nice. It's so nice in our devotee community how we can encourage each other to be able to hear from each other. And I gathered that what Sahadev Prabhu was saying, although he was referencing physical presence, what I was really hearing underneath that was he had a need for devotees to hear the scriptures. He had that need, and he wanted to encourage devotees to be able to hear. So this is how devotees encourage each other. Of course, we do our best to do that as lovingly as we can. That has more impact, when we lovingly encourage each other to hear. And so how can we do this? How can we lovingly encourage each other to hear? And so one of the ways that we can do that is by giving our full attention to hearing. So whenever we get a chance to hear, whether we can be on the platform or not, it's important that we try to study Srila Prabhupada's books at least 2 hours a day, That's the recommendation, to hear from whether it's Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, or Nectar of Devotion, all of Prabhupada's books, Bhagavatam. How can we give our full attention so that when we are hearing, it's to have affection for Krishna. We're hearing so we can develop this love for Krishna that Srila Prabhupada is talking about. Because Bhaktitirtha Maharaj, he says that this love is action. It's an action. It's something that, we not have to, however, it's recommended that we do something in order to develop this love. And of course, Prabhupada says what we do is to hear the scriptures. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj says, the way that we can do this, the way we can hear nicely, or the way that we can have this, we can exemplify this love in action, is to be an embodiment of love in action, right? He says, and to be an embodiment of love in action, how we can be that ourselves and we can exemplify that for others, is that we can shower everyone in our environment with this love. So how do we, so this love that we want to shower, we want to, vibrate everywhere in the world, we can receive this love, but because bhakti is about receiving, not just achieving. So we can receive this love by hearing in ways that give us that simplicity, or meditate in such a way that we're pleasing Krishna. And so that requires attention. It also requires humility to be able to hear. It also requires sincerity, also requires seriousness to hear. It requires curiosity, for us to be curious. Like in this verse, Prabhupada is making so many beautiful points. He makes the point about Prakriti, male and female, and how Krishna is the only male, and how the relationship between male and female, when we talk about love in action, the embodiment of a couple that is showing affection for each other in a spiritual way, that example can be understood as, the love that Krishna is having for us and the love that we're to develop for the Supreme Lord. And we get that through being curious about Krishna, being curious about how to meditate on the Supreme Person, being curious about how to please the Supreme Person. We also, in order to hear nicely, we need to be eager. We need to have eagerness, right? We need to not do it just out of duty, not just, I'm supposed to go to Srimad Bhagavatam class in the mornings, because if I don't go, somebody's going to get on my case, right? Not just out of like, if I don't read, then I'm not going to be, recognized as a senior devotee. Because senior devotees, they are, sometimes they are achievers, sometimes. And sometimes they are achievers in how much they know, right? I know this, and so I know this. And so you respect me because I know this. And if we think that we know, and then we have expectations of how people are supposed to treat us. And then when people don't treat us the way we expect them, according to our perceptions, then we get a little bit disturbed. Sometimes, if somebody is senior and not advanced, because there's a difference with being senior and being advanced spiritually. So again, how do we hear? We hear with patience. We hear with patience, especially when we read verses like this, where Prabhupada says, simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic knowledge, the feelings of loving devotional service to the Lord will develop, to Lord Krishna. So I've been, hearing for 40 years. Can I really say that I have feelings for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna? I'm not sure. I mean, I am praying to my spiritual master. I am begging for the grace and the mercy. I can't say I have the feelings of loving devotion. I'm wanting to have that for sure. I'm wanting to have that. And I know this is because this only comes by mercy and grace. This only comes by mercy and grace from the spiritual master and from the Lord. So I need to have patience, right? So Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, once he wrote to me this note. I don't know, I might have been asking him something, and he sent me a note. He used to always send me notes. And he sent me a note, and he said, at a point in your devotional life, it's all about perseverance. It's just about perseverance. Just persevere. And so in order for us to persevere, we need to be patient. We need to be patient and wait and do what we are requested to do, which is to hear and chant our Lord's holy names with patience and with a desire to please Krishna. And so as we do that, certainly Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, he explains all of the benefits that we will receive by hearing. And so there's unlimited benefits that Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. And I'll close with a couple of those. However, another way how to hear. How do we hear? We hear by being thoughtful. Thoughtfulness is so important. Prabhupada explains like that. He says, I am wanting students that are thoughtful men, right? Thoughtful women, that we're able to not just hear something and just like, oh, I heard Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning and Vrajalila said there, if we hear with attention, then that's one of the ways that perhaps if we can hear with attention, then we can develop what Prabhupada says here, this feelings for loving devotional service. And we're not really trying to, imbibe that, really like get that in our whole system, right? Just like be that. So this is what this is what hearing hearing by giving oral reception, by giving oral reception to this Vedic knowledge. So simply by hearing this Vedic knowledge, this will give us thoughtfulness. We will think about what we're reading. Just like today, this verse, there's so much to think about, so much that can impact us. Just one sentence that Srila Prabhupada says here, just this point about male and female and Prakriti can make us thoughtful. We can go and we can research more about Prakriti and research more about what Prabhupada is meaning by that. Another point to hear is to respect with affection, to respect what we hear with affection, right? We respect it, we hear it. Of course, we're thoughtful, we question, because it's human to have doubts. It's human to be able to try to understand things deeper. That's the purpose of Paramatma expanding as the spiritual master externally, so that we can have that opportunity to be able to hear directly from the representative of the Lord. And another important way to hear is we must have faith. It's important to have faith to hear. Once we hear with faith, then that hearing will actually become a part of who we are. Then we will realize, that we are actually spiritual beings, right? We will realize that we're not really a part of the material. Even though the material world is actually Krishna's energy. However, we will understand, this is Krishna's energy. This is Krishna's energy. I am actually a spiritual being, parts and parcel of the Supreme Lord, in quality, not in quantity. In quality with the Lord, but not in quantity with the Lord, right? And then service attitude. That's so important. So another point I thought Sahadev was making when he was questioning devotees about being on the class is the service attitude, because it's a service to hear, right? It's a service to hear from the speakers that you have so many exalted speakers. Of course, there are some that I know that bring their human side. Let's put it like that. And exalted souls do have their human side. So we can understand that. Then we can rise above their human side and we can hear their sastric evidence. That's just a part of human conditioning. So when we realize that, we're really parts of Krishna, we're really part and parcel of Krishna, we're really spiritual beings, then that service attitude will become stronger within us in our hearing. When we hear, that service attitude will develop. And one of the primary benefits of hearing is to be able to hear from devotees, right? Is to serve the devotees. And here, that's by hearing from the devotees, that's serving the devotees. That's actual service. So these are some points that I thought might be, I know there's very exalted devotees that come on this platform, and I know, you're not bereft of philosophical truths. I know you have all kinds of philosophical truths, and I thought I would just try to be a little bit practical. We know that there are 9 different stages of devotion, and we understand that. All of you, sometimes I think I'm speaking to the choir because I know you're all, endowed with philosophical knowledge, but still, somehow you give me an opportunity to come on the platform. And so I'm very, grateful. So we can understand this even from the philosophical point of view, that the first step is Shraddha, is faith. And then there's Sadhu Sangha, association with the devotees, by hearing from devotees, Krishna Katha. So we want to hear always Krishna Katha. And then there's Bhajana Kriya, right? We engage in devotional service because, that's what we do. We engage in devotional service as devotees. By engaging in this devotional service, Prabhupada says we will develop love of God. That's also explained in Nectar of Devotion very nicely, that if we engage in devotional service, we will become free from all our material lamentations. We'll become free. And that's what Prabhupada is saying in this verse. And then the one that Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj focused on so much for all of us is anartha nivritti, right? To decrease our unwanted attachments. Decrease our unwanted attachments. That means not to overcollect, not to, be more of an achiever than a receiver, right? This is anartha nivritti is to get rid of the unwanted things. And we know this can only happen through grace. Then there's nishtha, right? There's steadiness. We become steady in our devotion. Like in West Africa, I can say that there are many examples of devotees that are steady, like Srivas Prabhu. He's very steady. Ever since he first came to devotional service, he had a natural hankering to want to hear. He had a natural hankering to want to associate with the devotees. He had a natural hankering for wanting to engage in devotional service. And so even if he may be, and I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying, even if there are still some unwanted things there, he's steady in his devotional service, right? So, and then there's taste. This ruchi is a taste. We start having taste for hearing. We start wanting to hear about what time, as I said earlier, not because we have to, but because we want to, like every day we want to hear something about Krishna. That is actually when we can understand that we're developing this taste. Just got to hear something about Krishna. If a day passes and we don't hear about Krishna, we feel like something is wrong. Something is not right in our day, because we got to hear about the Lord. And then there is ashakti, which is attachment, right? We become attached to hearing, and attached to the activities of the Supreme Lord and his devotees. And there's so many, as I was, in this purport, Prabhupada says at a point that there are hundreds and thousands of evidences from revealed scriptures, that there are hundreds and thousands of evidence from personal experience of devotees in various places, hundreds and thousands. So when we have this attachment to, like these devotees do, hundreds and thousands, to hearing about the Lord, or in many cases, being with the Lord. And then there's bhava, right? There's love. And so there's many examples of personalities in our scriptures that exemplify this bhava, this love. And then there's this prema, pure love for God, pure love, where we are, like experiencing Kusha's background in a spiritual way, right? we're like having this pure relationship with the Lord, in pure love of God, where we are experiencing just being with the Lord, serving the Lord's devotees that are dancing with the Lord in the moonlit night. So this is all there for us. And this verse kind of gives us hope that just by hearing from the scriptures, that we will achieve this prema, we will achieve this pure love of God. It does not come, though, by criticism. It does not come, Prabhupada says, through politics, listening to politics. I know one devotee gave class the other day, and he was speaking about some of the obstacles he was experiencing. And he was saying, to be honest with you, because in our community, we're very transparent. We're very open and honest. And sometimes we just got to laugh, because devotees are so open and honest. So this devotee was saying, to be honest with you, I'm having a competition between what's going on politically and really hearing about Krishna, because I listen to, he's actually quite philosophical. He said, I'm reading and I'm thinking, oh, what did Trump do today? Oh, what did this one do today? Because it's such a pull, it's such a pull politically. And Prabhupada gives such a nice example here about politics in this verse. And he said, yeah, they're trying to help. They're trying to, create environments for hearing, but they're not hearing about the right things. This is the problem. And so this devotee was expressing, he was just letting us know very openly, like, hey, this is what I do too. Just be, I just want you to know. And so, we want to do everything we do to impress Krishna. We want to have affection for Krishna. We want to deal with everyone, every place, everywhere to make Krishna smile. And we want to do that not mechanically, not out of duty. And I'm going to close with this one thing from the Bhagavad Gita that I thought was so nice. I actually read an article by Vishaka Devi. She's very sastric person in our movement. And she actually did research about the benefits of hearing from Bhagavad Gita. And I thought, this is just so brilliant, so spiritually brilliant. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it's explained that by hearing properly about Krishna, by hearing properly, which I gave you some points about hearing properly, some suggestions, she came up with all of these verses from Bhagavad Gita. And I know that you all are studying Bhagavad Gita and becoming very expert in Bhagavad Gita, and it's one of my favorite books. So she says, by hearing this revealed scriptures, that we'll become fearless. That's Bhagavad Gita 119. We become free from lamentation, Bhagavad Gita 211. We become tolerant and undisturbed, Bhagavad Gita 213. We become resolute in purpose, 241. We become transcendental to the three modes of material nature, 245. We become peaceful and happy, 266. That we will attain love for Krishna, 410. Cross the ocean of miseries, 436. See all beings equally, 518. Check the force of anger, 523. Renounce sense enjoyment, 6.3. Curb our restless minds, 635. Unite intimately with Krishna, 647. Become free from doubt, 7.1. Remember Krishna, 8.14. Relief from miseries, 9.1. Be joyful, 9.2. Hearing destroys the darkness of ignorance, 10.11. And then maybe one more I'll give because I know the time is up. See Krishna face to face. This is one of my ones that's so beautiful for me. 1133, 1154. And pure hearing allows us to transcend birth and death. 1326. And then she quotes Henry Thoreau, right, who's in the book cover of the Bhagavad Gita or the back of the Bhagavad Gita. And he says, I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. And when I understood the magic of hearing about Krishna I began to understand how I could elevate my life by conscious endeavor. So my dear devotees, my dear friends, my dear family, my dear African family, let us lovingly encourage each other with conscious endeavor to hear from others and hear from the sastra, most importantly. And we, just weed out when we hear the human side of whatever someone says. Just weed it out. Just like, okay, that's the human side. If we become very fixed and understanding that we're pleasing Krishna by hearing, then the Lord in the heart, the Paramatma, will guide us to hear when it's noise from someone's human side. Paramatma will guide us for sure. And remember, there's always noise from the human side, anyway, many devotees. So I thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to be on the platform. Thank you, Srivas Prabhu, for being here. Srivas is a spiritual master. Please excuse me if I minimize who you are by speaking about you with infamiliarity. Please excuse me.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for this brilliant class. I'll just try to write something down. Before I say something, whatever qualities, whatever steadiness, whatever I've achieved in this path of devotional service can be attributed to you and Ekendra Prabhu. Because when I was coming around in the beginning, you gave me so much inspiration. Sometimes I think that Krishna just put you there at that particular time to inspire some of us to join this movement. If I had not met you and Ekendra, I don't know whether I would have remained as a devotee and lived in the movement till this moment. I remember several times Ekendra Prabhu has to drop me at school and so on. It was so encouraging. And then the way you used to talk to us, particularly myself, I felt that there was nothing more important than becoming a devotee, becoming a member of ISKCON, and taking up the preaching mission. So honestly, whatever little we have been able to cultivate, inculcate, is coming from your causeless mercy, causeless guidance, and encouragement. And so we are very grateful. And we always like to hear from you. This is a very wonderful class, how we can actually move forward in our Krishna consciousness. So thank you very much. We are always grateful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Srivas Prabhu. You know that statement, the student becomes better than the teacher. Then the teacher is very grateful. And so you're one of those students that becomes better than the teacher.
No,
By the mercy of Guru Maharaj, Bhaktitirtha Swami, and the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and actually the mercy of all the devotees in Africa, that also gave you an opportunity for you to be the best person that you can be.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are grateful.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ma. We have a few hands up. We are very eager to ask you a question. Starting from His Great Kusha Prabhu, the background Acharya.
Where's Kusha Prabhu? Let's see what background he has.
Hare Krishna, Mother. Hare Krishna.
Okay, we're still in the spiritual world. All right.
I have some few questions. Number one is, the verse is mostly focused on hearing, the importance of hearing. And you quote in the end so much verses of the Bhagavad Gita, what we attain by hearing. So my question is, when a woman or somebody called a low-class people hear all these very scriptures, and come in contact where it is said that Mahabharata is made for women and the Sudras, because they can understand the scripture. Or hear Prabhupada say women are less intelligent. These are part of hearing. How will they trust this philosophy to aim to achieve all these destinations?
I love that question, Kusha Prabhu. Yes. Yeah, that's a brilliant question. I think we are exploring that now. I just very briefly, Srivas Prabhu and myself, we're both in a committee to explore some of these things, these writings of that's in our books, and so we're a part of this committee that's like recommended by the GBC to address these things. So we recently met with one very senior advanced devotee, and that devotee was sharing about this one theme that women are less intelligent. And he was emphasizing the point that intelligence are on many different levels. And it's not, when we hear an absolute statement, we often don't realize, or we don't, we're not thoughtful to understand it from different levels. So for example, emotional intelligence. Women are much more emotionally intelligent than men. There are different other levels of intelligence, right? And so, so sometimes these absolute statements, we need to be thoughtful about them, like you are, and how we approach people about them. This is a dilemma. It's a big dilemma because Kali Yuga is so advanced now, and people have so many reasons to reject. We are very fortunate that we were still a little kind of, I guess, maybe pious, I want to say, I don't know, that we could accept so many things. However, now in Kali Yuga, no, it's not so easy, and it will become much more difficult. So yes, these statements can be impediments to people taking Krishna consciousness seriously. Absolutely. We can only, as Prabhupada did, in his example, he lovingly, he had these statements. At the same time, his person, his embodiment was to lovingly care for the people that came to Krishna consciousness. So if someone comes, if someone shows some interest, then it's important to embody for that person the loving care that we receive from our spiritual masters, our spiritual teachers, our spiritual mentors. And by that example, the person might find it a little easier, because in these days, actually, people aren't loved. People aren't cared for. That's what Kali Yuga is producing. They're producing people that just don't even know what love means. They don't even have an understanding of love. So when they experience that from us, it makes a difference in how they hear. It's not gonna change the fact that they're hearing it, but it will land a little easier by our loving reciprocation with them. This is so key, especially in Africa. One of the things we experienced when we first came to Africa was I was not philosophical at all. I mean, that's just, Kendra was very philosophical. I didn't actually even read the books till I came to Africa, because I was always doing Sankirtan, right? I was always collecting money. And so it wasn't until I came to Africa that I started reading. And so for me, what I had was this, which I learned from my parents, really, and I learned from where I was born. I was born in Belize, where people are loving with each other. They're caring with each other, So that's what I gave. I gave my affection, and I gave my attention, and I gave all those things that we talked about in hearing. I gave those because that's what I had. It wasn't philosophy that connected me with Srivas. Philosophy connected a kindred Srivas. What connected me with Srivas is him feeling cared for by me, because that's what I had to give. So if that's what we have to give, that's what we give. And that's what people need, really. All over the world, people need to feel cared for. And so I was happy when I saw that devotee care had come to Africa. I was so happy. Although, you know, Africans are very loving and caring, but sometimes when we kind of get in environments where we want to be achievers, then we become competitive. And then that kind of breaks down the caring.
Thank you, Mother. I don't know. I have one second question.
Yes, Prabhu.
When Prabhu Shiva was saying, Krishna put you there at the right time in his devotional service, and he gives glory, blessings to all the devotees also, something came to my mind. Like we normally, generally everybody normally praise everybody, but sometimes we don't see the devotees who give us trouble as a mercy of Krishna, where we are steadfast in devotional service. Like in West Africa, we have so much challenges among devotees. Some devotees challenge us to make us stable and steady, and they even leave the movement. But we never glorify them for being the reason we are still steadfast. What can be the cause? How can we appreciate those who give us so much trouble to remain as a devotee, even though they are no longer in the movement?
Thank you. Another nice question. Feeling of loving devotion to Krishna. So materially, we have obstacles of the mind and obstacles of the intelligence that can create separation. And that's a part of that's part of being human. So how do we show care to those persons that maybe, you know, as Prabhupada says in this purport, he says something about everyone is full of lamentation every moment. He's after the mirage of illusory things, and he's always afraid of his supposed enemy. So this is the fearfulness, right? That when someone seems to be an obstacle for us, when they're not fitting into our perception of how we think things are supposed to be, then we dismiss them. We can be very dismissive in our associations with each other, and I totally get that. And this requires more care. It requires us to be more caring, because those persons, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj used to say, that those persons that gives us a hard time are the best people in our lives, because they've definitely come to teach us how to be more loving and how to become more caring, right? And so I know in my own life as a manager, I was more like the manager type person than I was the sastric person. I'm just praying now to become a little bit sastric to be able to speak some philosophy. But I was more like the manager. I managed devotees for years and years and years. And certainly during that time, there were lots of devotees that, you know, were difficult, very difficult. And I believe that I learned so much from those devotees about becoming more caring. I didn't always exemplify that, you know. I didn't always exemplify caring because, you know, the false ego is there, right? It's always there. It's there until we become more and more purified. But I can say now, after 40 years of practicing devotional service, that I do see those persons that come in my association and appears to be obstacles that I know in my heart, they have come to teach me something. I know that. Earlier in my devotional life, I can't say, because I was still so covered. I was still such a mixed devotee. Not that I'm not a mixed devotee now, but I'm more of a mixed devotee then, you know? And so, so this caring, you know, this devotee care, it's not just words. It's not just words. And really, it would be helpful to offer apologies to those devotees if they're still around. I remember there was one devotee I remember, I don't know if he's still around. He was called Boniface. You remember him, Srivats Prabhu? I think his father was like some government official, Boniface. Do you remember him?
Well, there is maybe a different Boniface. There is another Boniface who was the driver to Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Tito Maharaj.
No,
Many
this
years.
not the.
Different one.
No, he was actually like the son of an official, and he would come in and out, in and out. He was interested in Krishna consciousness at the same time, you know, of course, because he had that background, that environment that he came out of. He couldn't always stay, but he would always come and then go and come and then go.
That was in Ghana.
This is in Ghana. Yes, this is in Ghana. This is very early, like 1982 or 83 or something like that. Anyway, he, I remember like everybody had a hard time with him because everybody was trying to surrender, living in the ashram. You know, ashram life, you know, is not always the easiest place to be. And so he would come sometimes from his, you know, very opulent environment, and he would stay a few days and he'd go and then come back. And the devotees would get so disturbed. And I remember we spent so much time just trying to encourage the devotees that, yeah, that's, you know, everyone needs to be given an opportunity and a chance. And, you know, everyone needs to do this bhakti in their timing. Now, I always think about him because I always wonder if he ever, you know, surrendered in the way that we think of surrender. Do you remember him, Srivas Prabhu? He was.
I think he never really joined the movement at the end. So otherwise, we would have remembered him.
Yeah.
But he just went away.
Yeah, so I always remember him as needing a lot of care, a lot of care. And sometimes our tendency is when we see that people aren't wanting to surrender, we dismiss them. You know, we dismiss them. And, you know, I believe the pandemic has come to help us to understand how important it is, you know, to give care to someone that even want to be around the devotee, that even want to hear a little bit of something about Krishna, you know, anything. Yeah, I believe this now. Things are changing, Kusha Prabhu. It's not, I hope in West Africa, and I'm sure, you know, there is always that human side of us. That's just the human side. But as we hear, that human side starts getting minimized, and we start becoming more in contact with our spiritual self. And that spiritual self is always caring, always loving. And so in the beginning, it's, you know, it's a bit of a tension, right? It's a tension. But now we don't have reasons to have those tensions because things are so crazy on the planet. They're so crazy. And I'm just so happy to see the things that's going on, you know. I saw yesterday Kaduna is doing so wonderfully. I remember going to Kaduna and it was so hard because there was Muslims and, you know, it was difficult in terms of preaching. And now Kaduna is just blooming. It's just beautiful. And then I saw the food distribution that's going on in Kumasi, just really incredible. There's so much wonderful things that's going on, even amidst our humanness. Yeah. So I think if we see the wonderful things that are happening and we be more of a part of that, then those persons, you know, then, yeah, I think all that tension that's in West Africa, if there is still a lot of tension, it'll go away. And it's gone away. I've seen. A lot of it has gone away. Is that okay for you, Kusha Prabhu? You oh, Holy One, you are muted, believe it or not.
Yeah, I will allow George Amega to ask, then I will ask my last question.
Okay, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Bye, Prabhu.
George Amega.
Hare Krishna. Oh, I thought you had a question. So somebody else had a comment or a question?
Yeah, Mother, thank you very much for your wonderful lecture. And what I deduced from today's lecture is about hearing. I've been in ISKCON for the past 10 years. And in the spiritual, we have some senior devotees who we see as our mentor. But Mother, my question really is, you'll be hearing day in, day out from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam. But it looks as if we are only hearing, but we are not absorbing it. Because sometimes, as Papa said in the purport, that the political leaders will have dialogue upon dialogue, but if they will not come to the point of devotional service, it's going to be a waste of time. Similarly, with the devotees also, we have what we call Itagoshi, whereby we have communicate, we have meetings upon meetings in order to change things how it was done before. But it seems like it's not working. So, Mother, how do you relate this to those we call karmics and we as the devotees? Because we are in our the spiritual knowledge, whereby this guidance is supposed to change us. But whether the situation is being worsened day in, day out. So how do you relate this to those we call karmics as compared to we, the devotees? Hare Krishna. This is my question, Mother. Thank you.
Herbal George, thank you so much for your thoughtful question. Very thoughtful. Well, you know, you gotta be the example. You gotta be the one that step up. And you got to be the one that take it so seriously that others will follow, whether they're senior or not. Now, I personally, I've been a devotee for 40 years, and I learned so much from the new devotees that's coming into our movement. Some of them are just like amazingly empowered. So, you know, one of the easiest ways to understand your own empowerment is to glorify others. When you are able to know you are empowered, then you can speak very encouragingly about everyone. That's when you know you're empowered. And so, yeah, when we get senior, you know, in devotional life, when we've been doing this for a long time, sometimes, I'm not saying this is the case there, I don't know, but sometimes our enthusiasm is not the same as a new person that's coming. And so your enthusiasm without finding fault and criticism can inspire a senior devotee. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful? And I'm sure you're doing that, George. I have no doubt. If the devotee is not being an example, then Krishna and that devotee. Krishna will have words with that devotee, believe me. I mean, Paramatma, the Lord, is in the heart, right there. You know, so if the devotee has turned away from Paramatma, Paramatma will, you know, in different ways, through different devotees, gently remind that person. However, if that person just wants to be engaged materially, then Paramatma has nothing. Paramatma just watch, just witness, okay, just do what you need to do. However, we always want to be in the mood of encouraging devotees, especially senior devotees, because most of them have given so much and they've done so much, and they might be tired, physically tired. You know, sometimes they really just need to rest. Yeah, especially if you've been doing it for a long time. So if we can see, you know, even one little positive, beautiful, wonderful, nourishing thing that a devotee has done, that will help our empowerment. So be empowered, George. Make a difference. You can do that. Even if it's in a small world, your small world.
Hare Krishna, ma'am.
Yes, Prabhu.
We have more hands up, but I'd like to ask you a question also.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much for your encouragement. Like you mentioned rightly to the question of Judge Amega Prabhu. Yes, what you said is actually right, that sometimes the senior devotees also, they need encouragement, that they may actually be tired. I remember why I'm saying this, because I remember when I was the temple president in Lagos, and sometimes there was a particular time things were not going in my way. And actually I was really tired. I was just thinking of how to, give up everything and just go and take rest. Yeah. And so when something came out, and somehow the other I left the service, then Guru Maharaj reminded me, when I was telling him this happened, that happened, he said, Kavi, you've forgotten. This is what you desire. You want to give up, you want to go and take rest. And Krishna has given you as to fulfill your desire. So why are you complaining? So I'm really feeling for the senior devotees, because sometimes things may not be going their way, but still they will stuck there and continue to tolerate, persevere, and just thinking that something will happen. So it's true. So my real question now is that we have this platform for some time now, and we have wonderful speakers coming on this platform like yourself, and many other senior devotees that even we don't know if they will be possible in this lifetime for them to travel down to West Africa. But by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we can get the association on this platform. But another discouragement that is coming from here now is that, like today now, we are very happy because you are here, we can get up to 23. Now I'm seeing the number 23. But ordinary days, maybe we get like the 15, 10, it was just fluctuating between that number. And sometimes when the speaker comes, maybe around 6 of devotees are on the platform. Sometimes it may be discouraging, but because they are devotee, they remember the philosophy of Prabhupada that even you can speak to the wall if there's nobody there, but it may not be encouraging. So my question is, how can we encourage devotees to take advantage of, wonderful association of senior devotees that come to this platform like you yourself? How can we lovingly encourage them? So that is my question, ma'am.
Thanks, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Thank you for encouraging me. One of the things about devotee caring about devotees, is being able to make ourselves available for them in ways that we can, right? So for example, if you have, let's say in Ghana, if you have some devotees that are interested in devotee care, so maybe those devotees can call, devotees and just check in with them. How often do you have devotees checking in and say, how are things going? What's happening with you? How's it working for you? Just to be a friend. And by being friends to devotees, that can have such an impact. So if you have in Ghana 2 or 3 devotees that are, let's say, committed to devotee care, and if they know the pulse of what's happening with the devotees, that can encourage a devotee. If we're just like shoulding a devotee, you should participate, you have to participate, and let's say they're going through, some challenge in their life at that time, or at this time, at the time of the classes or whatever. Because Krishna consciousness is definitely beautifully philosophical, and if we hear, we will practically get understanding about how to do things. However, it's not that it's only spiritual, right? It's emotional, it's physical. There's other aspects of Krishna consciousness, and we tend to not be so connected with each other in these other areas of our lives. And so, yeah, we need to check in with devotees now, and maybe we don't even have a conversation about being on the platform. Just how are you doing? What's going on? What's happening for you? You know, just yeah, like one time I just wrote to Kusha just to find out what was going on. He wasn't on the class. I wanted to know what's happening. And then I learned that he had gone to, you know, pick up some things from, I don't know, the port or something. I remember we had that conversation just on WhatsApp because I was curious, because he's always there, you know? So if devotees aren't coming, they're not coming for a reason. And sometimes their reason could be physical. Sometimes their reasons could be emotional. Sometimes their reason could be financial. So many things happening with devotees. So please, let's open our hearts to connect with the devotees and find out where they're at. And by doing that, believe me, they will start getting more appreciation for hearing. You know, there's a statement that says, connection before education. Kavi, you got that? Connection before education.
Yes, ma. Thank you very much. It's true. Thank you, ma. We have His Grace Kusha Prabhu and Sade Prabhu. So we allow Sade Prabhu then after that, Kusha Prabhu can continue with his question. Sade Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol Saha. Okay, Saha, I always tell you, you're the one that asked the question to stump the guru. So I'm not the guru. I'm not even philosophical. So please don't stump me.
No, I'm nobody at all. See, Mother, I used to be so much fearful of death, up to the point that, like, whenever I thought of death, I was like having panic attack. Then I read from somewhere in the Bhagavata where Srila Prabhupada said, a Vaishnava is not afraid of death. And I'm trying to be a Vaishnava, and so I'm pretending not to be afraid of death. You talked about fear. I have so much fear, and that is because I am unable to practice devotional service as I've been taught. So my question is, how do devotees try to put into practice what they have been taught? I mean, we all have been taught so many things, and I believe if we are able to put those teachings into practice, most of us will be very serious and advanced devotees, but some of us are not, including myself. So is there like any technique, strategy that one can imbibe to put these wonderful teachings into practice? That's my question. Thank you.
Haribol. So Saha Prabhu, I am not saying this just to make you feel good. I'm saying this because it's coming from my heart. I know your family. I know your wife, your children. I know your enthusiasm to hear. I know that because you're on all our classes. You're on most of our classes, right? You make an effort. So first thing I want to say is thank you for not asking such a difficult question. I'm grateful for that. And secondly, I know that you're being humble and it's beautiful. At the same time, I want you to, acknowledge and appreciate who you are. And the reason I'm saying this is because Super Soul has put you in an environment in your work just so you can overcome this fearfulness, because you are around old people that are dying. That's your job, And so Krishna is amazing, just like Kavi was saying. when he got a chance to rest, you know, it was his guru that encouraged him, like, okay, you take this is the time you wanted it, you wanted to rest, right? So because you're sharing that you're fearful and you have such a sincere desire, Krishna arranged, he gave you a job where you can learn that firsthand. So when you see or hear people dying in your job, I'm guessing that helps you to face death even more. Yeah, and as far that's something that's just coming to me, you know, just in terms of the death part, and in terms of you not thinking that you are not up to the standard of how you were trained. I love that. I love how you said that, because you got a taste. And, you know, in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, there was you had a taste. And now because maybe you're involved in family life and, you know, having to be in the world, maybe you're lamenting and you're grieving that you aren't able to practice like you used to when you were, like, you know, I don't know, living closer with devotees and, you know, being in the temple, having the temple environment, and, you know, and that's okay. You can grieve about that. I think all of us that don't live in the temple environment, we grieve some. And it's okay to mourn. You know, you can mourn. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm not able to, you know, be in the temple and have the association of devotees do kirtan, my favorite thing, and, you know, sit with devotees and read all the time. And, you know, however, you have another platform for being exemplary for Krishna. And that's for your family, your children. You have the most beautiful boys. And, you know, you have a job that's teaching you how to be fearless, at least from death. I don't know. Is that helpful, Sahal? Are you in your job sneaking in the closet? Yep, I think he's sneaking.
The time Sade Prabhu is very encouraging to us, because it's always when he's listening from his working place, very, very encouraging. So I have no reason not to be here.
He hides in a closet to listen to class.
Yes.
On his job.
Prabhu, please, you can continue.
Yes, Mother. My second question has to do with the Prabhu you mentioned, like in the early days in Ghana, Boniface, you were mentioning. He couldn't able to stay in temple life. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just so I'm just like looking at that backdrop. That's the temple in Ghana, right?
Yes. That's in Ghana, media.
Wow. Sorry, I got caught by the visual.
It's Ghana.
Beautiful backdrop. Wow.
So when you were mentioning this Boniface, due to his maybe opulence or family background, temple was a bit austere to him. So I was just thinking, is it not possible that we as a movement, when we have somebody who comes from an aristocratic family, we can relate them to worship Krishna Dwakadish, Krishna in Dwaka with opulence, so they can stay and be devotees, than giving them the Krishna in Vrindavan, full of austerities and penances. So, because so many politicians or businessmen are so rich, they can't even accept our temple facilities to be a devotee. So why don't we talk about Dwakadish, Krishna in opulence, to them until they purify their material consciousness to become, before we send them to Vrindavan, like Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan from Dwaka. So these are all practical aspects. If the management can also put this into consideration, is it not possible? Papa said, according to place, time, and circumstance, the son of a rich man can't stay on the mat in the temple. Let him hear. We're talking today about hearing, importance of hearing. Such people should hear about Krishna entering Dwaka, the opulence. Then they will be steadfast. They will be stable until they send them to Vrindavan, like Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan to go and see Krishna. They won't go away. But I don't know. I don't know the reason why Krishna have all these pastimes if it's not to engage everybody according to their nature. But anybody come, we only send them to Vrindavan or to Mayapur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chant Hare Krishna. What about those that come from Dwarka, opulence? They don't fit in, so they leave. So I was just thinking, as a movement, when those rich people come, they can take part in hearing Bhagavatam about Krishna in Dwarka. Then they would know, yes, I belong here. Then through tactics, they can invest. If they want to maintain that status, they can use this their opulence and build powerful temples to have such facility. They won't go away.
Kusha Prabhu, you are a man of expanded consciousness. Yeah, you're a man of like the future. That's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. You're thoughtful and you really concerned about how we can engage everyone. And there are temples where Dwarka is worshipped. You know, Gujaratis, I believe, they worship Dwarka, Dwarkadish. And that's, yeah, I think that's beautiful. It's Krishna. It's a different kind of rasa. However, as far as I understand, and maybe, and not maybe, Srivas definitely can add to this. When we worship Krishna in Vrindavan, we are in that mood of Madhurya Ras, having that relationship, as you know, Kusha, aspiring, at least in my case, aspiring to have that relationship with Krishna, Sambandha, where we are actually experiencing those intimate pastimes with the Lord. Dwarkadish, as you said, as you nicely said, is a different rasa. And certainly, I don't know. I don't think there's anything, I don't know. I mean, we do things that maybe even not so accepted, whatever. Certainly people can have pictures of Dwarkadish and you know, worship Dwarkadish. I think, you know, our movement is so young, Kusha Prabhu, that we are like just learning so many things. We're just like unfolding so many things. We've kind of made so many we've given so many beautiful opportunities to even learn some things about Krishna, and we're continuously growing. And it's people like you that is needed, is expanded consciousness to make a difference, you know? So you need to become more involved, and you need to be the one that can help people in different areas that you are really, you know, concerned about. And it's a legitimate concern. So when you meet those wealthy people, because you're aspiring to be, you know, a wealthy person, you probably already are having some wealth, and you may be aspiring to have more wealth for Krishna, no doubt. So your influence will most likely be with people that are aspiring to have more wealth. You can introduce them to Dwarkadish.
Okay, thank you.
Don't quote me in the bigger ISKCON on that.
Anything you say is part of the Vedic scripture. I will quote you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mother.
Haribol Prabhus.
So, thank you very much, Ma. Is Grace Srivas Manachari, probably, please, you have anything to say, Maharaj? Or we want to thank Mother. Thank you for your time, Mother.
Before Srivas speak, I just want to close with one thing. This is from the Nectar of Devotion. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self-realization in the present age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulative principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give relief from all material contamination. Therefore, it is the recommendations of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord. Hearing from professional men will not help. If we hear from those who are actually self-realized, then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. This is the metaphor used in the above verse. And so I wanted to close with that from the Nectar of Devotion about hearing.
Thank you so much, Mataji. This is very, very wonderful. I think you've addressed the issue Sahade brought up a few days back on the platform regarding regular attendance to the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think your lecture has addressed that sufficiently. So thank you for that. We would be looking forward again in the future to have you give us more on such important issues. I think on that note, I will say we can close. Thank you so much.
Prabhu, thank you, and thank all the devotees. I am so grateful to be a part of our African family. So very grateful.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So we want all the devotees, please unmute yourself. Let us chant one powerful Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate my mother.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, ma'am.
Haribo, thank you. Hari.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.